Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the show. Showtime Forum post-game show. Your boy Chaz and Devon are here to give you what you need. Of course, the Lakers gave us what we needed. They gave us a win, and it wasn't just a win. It was a win in dominant fashion without the brow. Chaz, talk to me, man. How you feeling?
Trust the prophet, dog. Like, I've been trying to tell y'all, we got the whole segment, and I've been telling everybody in, our Lakers Slack and everybody online. And I mean, if you could get this from Kyle Kuzma on a nightly basis, he's a steal for $40 million over 3 years. So, my Kuz theory has come not only to fruition, but it is blossoming right in front of our very eyes less than 2 weeks from the signing of that deal. He's still only making $3.6 million this year, by the way, guys. So that between that and the type of load management that LeBron and AD are going to get this year by blowing teams out by 20 and 30 points to where they could sit for entire fourth quarters, that's the type of load management that you want to have, to where you're still in some kind of a rhythm. You're not just not playing. You're still getting the sweat, still contributing to team wins, and not just sitting out games. I know Kawhi didn't sit out today just because, he took a pretty nasty hit from Ibaka on Christmas. Let's not make a big deal of the Clippers losing by 50 points. Let's not make
51.
Okay, 51. Let's not make that the Clippers losing by 51 make us forget that they blew a 3-1 lead in the playoffs last year. So let's not forget that. I just had to take a moment to say that. But this is a Lakers show. We're not going to clown the Clippers too much. But really, at the end of the day, it's all about Kuzma. Tonight was Kuzma's night. A little disappointed that he only finished with 20 points, being that he had, I believe, almost 20 points in the first half.
True.
He came out hot. I mean, he hit like 4 in a row. He was distributing. He was, give him that work, give him that magic pass. He had a real nice pass down to Montrez. So the entire Lakers team was in positive plus minus. Kuz led the team in plus 38, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, what more can you ask from the guy? I mean, his consistency is there. His confidence is there more than anything. And I'm of the mindset that after LeBron took another spill like he did tonight, I don't think LeBron's going to play tomorrow. He might, but I think LeBron may not play tomorrow. And I think the reason why AD didn't play tonight is because he's playing tomorrow. So these guys are going to be managed in a certain way, and I'm just happy that guys are stepping up. LeBron James only had 18 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, was a plus 16. This is the type of load management that you want, and this team is humming early. I mean, to put up 138 points in regulation and then follow it up less than 48 hours later with another 127 points, albeit be the Timberwolves without.
Uh-oh. Looks like we lost Chad. Oh, he's back. Hold on. Let me get him back in here.
You got me?
I got you. I got you back. We lost you for a second, but you're back. There you go.
Okay, right. My bad. I don't know what happened. I'm just sitting here. But for LeBron James to have 18 points and only play 26 minutes and to win by, 40 points, 38 points, I mean, damn. What can you say?
Mad crazy, man. And there's so much to get into because Kuzma obviously was the highlight, but just a few things to go over. These are the topics that we have tonight. And we're going to start off with Kuz because the question now is this the real Kuz? And it's almost like this game was a microcosm, man, of just him in general, but we'll get to that in just a minute. We'll talk about Marc Gasol, who had his emergence tonight. Of course, the Lakers' depth, and then, of course, the last thing we're going to talk about is how do we stack up, given that we lost to the Clippers on opening night, but then came back with 2 dominant performances after that. So I have a question about Kuz, man. This dude was absolutely amazing, as you said tonight. But my question is, for you is when you talk about Kuz and you saw what he did in the first quarter and you saw what he did in the first half, and then the second half he was relatively quiet. It's almost like what he does during the regular season, where he has these big games and then he goes relatively quiet. So I don't think anybody questions can Kuz score. The question is, which one is him? Is it the first half Kuz, or is it the second half?
It's all about just confidence and opportunity. In the second half, his scoring wasn't needed. So he didn't look to score. He looked to facilitate. And he ended the game with, a solid 3 assists. I mean, he wasn't like a distributor like that, but he played solid defense. He had 2 huge key blocks. I mean, that chase down block that he had. THC had a really nice block too, by the way. Mm-hmm. But I mean, overall, I think the real Kuz is the Kuz that we saw in the first half tonight. A guy that's confident, and when he can get it going, and when he can get his shots up, and when he can play freely. I mean, he has right now. He should be the most confident player really on the team. To be honest, I mean, outside of AD and LeBron, he should be the most confident because he locked in pretty much the longest term deal between him and KCP. But he's younger than KCP, and the type of longevity that he's going to have with his team, quite possibly, he should have all the confidence in the world to know that he's in LA, he's already a champion, he's on a team that wants him, and he's playing great, and he has great players that back him up that think highly of him. So at this point, any kind of opportunity that he gets to start, I've always said it, as long as Kuz starts or gets starters minutes, he's going to be productive. When he's not productive in 12, 15, 18-minute spurts. Like, that's just, it's not for him. Not everybody can play every role. It's just not possible sometimes. So Kuz is, at this point, a 28, 32-minute-a-night guy that's going to get you anywhere between 15 and 18 points a night this year.
And I'm not mad at that, to be honest. If Kuz can do that, even if it is just the first half, I'm with it. I'm interested to see how he integrates with the lineup and the rotation that's obviously going to be flipping around a lot. As you just said, it's very possible LeBron will sit out tomorrow, and AD. We have no idea how Vogel's intending on playing this and what he's going to do with that. But as long as Kyle Kuzma can produce when he gets the opportunities, then this makes this roster even that much more dangerous. Obviously, tonight there was other contributors, and we'll talk about this guy, Marc Gasol. And what I love about tonight was there's been a lot of conversation about Marc Gasol. Do we get rid of him? Has he
already, right?
Already, 3 games in, people were like, is he a waste? But we talked about this. He is not really built for the Serge Ibaka's and things like that. But tonight you saw what he could do in full display. And what I love were his numbers. It wasn't just his scoring, even though he took that logo 3 that just set it off with 12 points. But it was the rebounds and the assists.
Gasol.
The logo Gasol, man. 7 rebounds and 8 assists. And that right there is the difference. He had just 1 assist or 2 assists shy of having a double-double. And that's your big. That's your big doing that.
Almost had a triple-double.
Almost had a triple-double, really, yeah, if you think about the rebounds. So for Marc, this is my question. When you look at Marc Gasol and we see what we're seeing tonight, is this an aberration? Is this something that we can expect from him on an average? Or is this something that we just that we take with a grain of salt and say this was great, he did it tonight, and hopefully he can do it again in 4 or 5 games?
I'm thinking that his chemistry with AD isn't coming along as fast as he or they, being the team, would have hoped. I think tonight we saw such good Gasol because there was no AD out there, right? Like when AD's out there, the lane's a little bit more clogged. Even though the spacing is better than what it was last year, it's still, I feel like the chemistry with Gasol and LeBron is better than it is with Gasol and AD. AD still, they still have to work things out together. I see them always talking and communicating as to, how they can do things better on the next play or what happened on the previous play or whatever the case may be. Gasol was ass in that first game.
No, that's for real. He was the worst.
And on Christmas, luckily we just didn't need him, and he didn't play, great. But I think not having AD out there and Gasol being able to just pass a little bit more freely without worrying about, AD is a big body out there at the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
I think that played a role into it, and just more time, more repetition, more reps, more just more time overall with the team, and the time spent with LeBron. I mean, those two bounce passes that he had to LeBron for dunks were, especially the first one when LeBron just cocked it back, just bah. So I mean, yeah, I'm just happy that he was able to have a great night. Now it's up to him to just build on this and continue it on throughout the season, because guys are going to be in and out of the lineup constantly,
Right.
for just little nicks and stuff like that. I feel like Caruso is going to have a pretty uphill climb all season. I feel like he's going to get, like, he has a strained hand muscle or something like that, and he's already listed as questionable for tomorrow. Same with LeBron. I highly doubt LeBron plays tomorrow. So we'll see.
And he really doesn't need to. And that's what I love about this team. Is this is the first time that I can think of that LeBron's been on a team where he could really sit back and go, I really don't need to play. Even when he was with the Heat and they had the two other superstars that could carry the starting lineup, this roster all the way through can really carry it. If him and AD decided to sit down, they can figure out a way to get a win. I want to give you some of these comments that are in here. Periscope, Let's Go Lakers, of course. Showtime Forum, Kuz led the team in plus minus with 38, plus 38, you said that. Groovin' All on Twitch, good to see you, my friend. Kuz was on fire today. Here's the question. Kuz for early season MVP. I'm already saying no to that, but I don't know. Most improved player, I don't know if you want to give him that award. I don't see many awards he can get outside of maybe sixth man of the year, and that's if he has an incredible season. Or most improved.
Yeah, I don't see any awards in Kuz's future this year.
Not on this roster.
You're not on this roster. So let next.
Truth, hey guys, what platform is this, man? We're on all platforms right now. We're on YouTube. We are on Twitch. We are on Twitter and Periscope. And guys, just so you know, Periscope is going away in March, but we'll still be on Twitter with the different platforms. So we'll let you know more about that when it comes up. Kuz is the longest tenured Laker with a new contract. Time to shine. Our boy Justin Stover on Twitch. What's up, guys? Hey, we got a squad depth for days. Kuz showed out. Just have to figure out how to get this type of production off the bench. Now, that's the question that we keep coming up with. He's obviously not going to start in this lineup. It's not in the, unless something crazy happens. We don't anticipate him starting. So how come we can't get this Kuz to come off the bench?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you. I think it's just something about some guys just play better in starters roles instead of bench roles. Some guys, there's a reason why Jamal Crawford came off the bench, even though he was probably better than the first guard off the, that started all the time. Like, depending on what team he was on, Jamal Crawford just played better in a 6-man role. Trez, I think will unless he goes to a team like Charlotte or Cleveland or, something like that, Trez is always going to be a 6-man because the energy that he brings off the bench is just unmatched. There's nobody on another bench that's going to bring the type of energy that he does on a night-to-night basis. Trez is just the ultimate garbage time player. I say that with all due respect. I've never seen a player in garbage time eat up and pad their stats as much as Montrez does. Like, Montrez had like 4 points going into the fourth quarter, and then finishes with 8 in garbage time minutes, and only played 20 minutes tonight. So
and was efficient, 6 of 10.
Yeah, so I mean, this team is deep. This team is deep, deeper than deep. I mean, we talking deep diving deep. Like, I mean, we can go about 11, probably 12 deep. Really, if
you really could.
I mean, you really could bring QC. Like, Quinn Cook could play. It will be in a rotation for 75% of the league. And I mean, it's just that this team is as deep as it is, where THT is the 11th man off the bench. So, I mean,
who
And
did great tonight. 21 minutes, 12 points, man. The things he was doing tonight showed maturity. You talked about that block. I don't know what's going to happen with this kid, but he's going to get some minutes.
yeah, once his shot it just gets really, really consistent, right? Where he like has confidence in his mid range and his catch and shoot. He's really good he's actually better off the dribble than he is catch and shoot, which is
Which
a
is
little
so
bit
strange.
backwards.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's doing great. He's having a great season, great start to the season. Schroeder's having a really good start to the season. He obviously should start. I mean,
Yeah.
that was going to be the player that I would say maybe start Kuz over Schroeder and move LeBron to true point guard. But Schroeder's playing so well. I mean, left-handed floaters, left-handed layups, good passes to Trez. And once he comes in, 6-man role. I mean, everywhere you look, there's positivity coming from this team. I don't see the only negative that I could think of is we're thin at the 5 spot because we're at some point Gasol's going to get his nicks and bruises, and you can't just solely rely on AD and Trez to just be to guard the 5s that you need to guard, like Joel Embiid and Nurkic and Jokic. And if Gasol's out, then that compromises AD on the offensive end. Even though he could guard those guys, it just he won't be able to do as much efficiently on the offensive end. If he is able to, then he's an all-time great. But I mean, to be able to sustain that over the course of a 72-game season this year isn't ideal. So buyout market, we definitely on the lookout for a backup 5.
Now that we're talking about that, we're talking about depth, which would be crazy to add a backup 5 because then that really messes up the minutes if you really think about it, because we're already running a crazy rotation. But let me just say the dark horse for me in the room tonight, and I know I'm going to sound crazy when I say this, okay? And I know it was garbage time, but something stuck out to me about McKinney tonight. Something stuck out to me about McKinney. And I'm not saying he deserves a bunch of minutes, but I considered him the J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters type dude. Not even Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith of this group. The Troy Daniels of this group. Not because he's a bad player, I just didn't see him fitting. But the energy he showed, 8 minutes, 8 points, I looked up, I was like, wait, I know it's garbage time, but my dude was active everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do with it. We're already guard heavy, so I'm not saying that he deserves to take anybody else's spot. But this is how I know we have depth. KCP he only had 8 points tonight, and last year we would have been eating this dude alive, and we don't care this year because it's not necessary for him to score more. He was the only starter who wasn't in double digits. That's how you know you have depth. Lakerland has not said one word about KCP, and he's been great, but he hasn't done anything spectacular. But that's the depth. He's a plus 29 tonight.
How do you put up 127 points and not a single player is above 20 points? Not a single player.
Not a single. That's really crazy. That's the amount of balance you have on this team. A THT 12, Harold 12. Yeah, that has to be the most unheard of stat. I can't think of another time a team has scored that many points in regulation and nobody scored over 20.
I'll tell you this. My girl she was like, I like you relaxed like this watching the game. And I'm like, well, look at the score. I mean, I'm laying back. I'm on the iPad. She rubbing my, I just
chilling.
Chilling. I no worries at all. So I mean, because normally when it's a close game, I'd be beating my chest like I'm Braun or growling or whatever. I'd be getting real into it.
Right.
Everybody has their things, but I mean, these last 2 games I've been relaxed. So we probably won't be. I mean, if this continues, which it likely will, there's a good chance that it will, because the Lakers' schedule coming up is not too hard. I mean, if you think about the teams that they're really going to have to face, I mean, I just want to get into it really quick and just review maybe the next 5 or so. So next few games that we have coming up, I mean, we got the Trailblazers next, right? We're going to see Melo and Dame and
no Melo.
Oh, no Melo. Oh yeah. Well, we don't
come.
know that. We don't know that to be true yet.
Well, they said they said it was protocol. They said it was
he didn't travel. Like he still could make it. Maybe not.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But here's the great part about the travel or the lack of travel. Now we get San Antonio on a back-to-back in San Antonio. Well, not a back-to-back, but back-to-back games. And then we go to Memphis back-to-back, and then we come home. San Antonio, Chicago, Houston, OKC, New Orleans, Golden State. I mean, none of those teams are top teams at all. I mean, until we get to the first true test of the season, like true test, isn't going to come until January 21st, and that's Milwaukee.
And I'm going to be honest, bro. I'm not sure. They're not the same Milwaukee as last year.
No, because they just got blown out by 30 by the Knicks in the Garden.
I have no idea what's going on with Milwaukee right now, but that they are not the same team. So yes, that is a test compared to the other ones. I just don't know. I'm going to step back. I'll say Houston could end up being a test because we haven't really seen John Wall in the LeBron era for the Lakers. So that Boogie Cousins, John Wall, speedy guard type thing. I'm interested to see how we stack up against that. Typically, guards give us an issue. But you're right. This schedule is really stacked up for us. And when you really think about it, just even in the first 30 games, your biggest tests are going to be Denver, Brooklyn, of course. I'm gonna count me crazy. I'm gonna throw Boston, of course. Boston.
Don't you dare!
I'm gonna throw Sacramento in there. I'm throwing Sacramento
in there.
They are due for some reason. They have a way of surprising teams like us by playing extraordinarily well and winning at buzzer beaters. I'm not going to throw them out. They're going to test just simply off of energy alone, not about talent, but they're going to come. De'Aaron's going to come in there acting crazy. All them guys, and you already know Luke doesn't like us anymore. So I just have an anticipation that that's going to be a scrappy series this season. I know. I see your eye roll.
My brother, it's all love. But I don't know about Sacktown. Over the long haul. I'm looking forward to that Brooklyn game on the 18th, and I'm looking forward to that Valentine's Day game in Denver. Those are the two games I'm looking forward to. And going to Boston, of course, on the 30th of January, and then going to Milwaukee on the 21st. Outside of that, we should be able to beat teams literally in 2.5 quarters.
That's true.
If we come out focused every night and shoot 40%, not even 50%, if we shoot 40% from three consistently, like we have been doing, and guys come off the bench, and we're able to sub, because guys are going to have an off night. Guys are going to be out to protocol as long as nobody does anything stupid like congregate for haircuts or go out to and have parties and stuff like that, and we don't miss. Yeah, like if we don't miss 3-4 guys in one foul swoop, like if that doesn't happen to us all season, we have enough depth to be able to put somebody in for somebody else to be able to still be able to beat teams in 2.5, 3 quarters and maintain the level of low management that we have with LeBron and AD to where they can sit out games like this and still blow out a team by 20, 30, maybe even 40 points in this instance. So, it's going to be a long season for the league. It's not going to be that long for us because we're going to get a lot of rest while we beating y'all.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And here's a couple more comments. Truth, you asked where the show's moving to. We're going to be right here. We're not going to be moving. You're just going to look a little bit different than Periscope come March. But by that time, we'll all have all that straightened out. Gasol shows how smart of a player he is. His passes are so perfect. He plays smart D, not that physical, but is always in the right place. And I got to say that, tonight Mark did his thing. He wasn't in too much foul trouble. Once again, his opening night, man, was probably the worst that I've seen him. Since he's been in the league.
He's moving better defensively this game. Yeah. And last game was better than the first game. So just more time and more continuity with the guys is just going to make things better. He had a really good quote about, being able to read and react to guys and just know, how to shift your body and angles and things of that nature, especially on the defensive end. So he's a smart guy. He'll catch on quick.
Absolutely. Mama Kuz, Jason Jeter on Periscope. Mama Kuz said tonight her son needs more touches. Can we make Kuz the sixth man and make him get him more touches. I'm assuming. Get him more touches as the sixth man. I think he already is. Am I mistaken that he's always the first rotation in, right?
Not necessarily. I saw Trez as being the first guy in the first two games. Kuz started, but I mean it's him or Trez realistically. I mean Vogel already mentioned it and said that he's a starter. He's a starter type player anyway. So he has all the confidence in him to be able to start and carry the load minutes wise, offensively and defensively. Kuz is better. I just flat out, he's better than he was last year before. He's made the improvement. It's all about the opportunities and him showing up. And if he gets the opportunity like he's able to get this year in the playoffs, Kuz is going to hit big shots for us in the playoffs. And those first 3 years of his career are just, going to be washed away essentially.
Absolutely.
All the trade rumors, all that him logging on and off Twitter, blocking people, clapping back, all that'll be long and forgotten once he hits a big shot in the playoffs and not just a walk off in the last bubble game, So
y'all mark this because I'm telling you,
or seeding game.
We're gonna come back to this moment when Kuz does it in the playoffs because he's been right about everything so far.
Because I've already told you guys that if he starts, he can do what he did tonight, and I already told you that he was going to get a contract to be extended for the next 3-4 years, and I already told you that he was going to be the player that we keep after the AD trade. So, I mean, tell me when I miss on Kuz. Just let me know. I'll be waiting.
Trust
everybody out there on Laker Nation giving him a hard time, giving me a hard time, giving anybody else that supports Kuz a hard time. Come at me when I'm wrong about it.
And he has not been yet. Groovin All on Twitch says THT is our off the bench point guard. Thoughts on that?
THT is taking Caruso's minutes quick, fast, and in a hurry.
I wish you would leave my man's name out of this, man. THT ain't taking my boy's minutes, man. Did you see how good Caruso's shooting the three this year? Have you noticed that in these last 3 games? Are you catching him on these curl screens shooting threes?
Yeah, he's just better than what he was last year. Doesn't mean he's great.
He was a champion last year.
No. I mean, I'm just talking about his.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
he's shooting better than what he was last year. He's not 100%. His defense is not. You can't tell me that his defense is as good through these first 3 games as it was even in the bubble.
It's not. And I have a theory
right now.
Not just he's hurt. That's a huge part. I think it's different with him playing with. I think it was different last year because the team was so much more defensive minded. We're already seeing offensive production change. It's almost like it flipped. This year's team is far more about offense, but last year's team suited him well because he could work in those defensive rotations way better, knowing he had a Dwight behind him.
I don't think this team is more offensive minded. I just think that they're so talented and deep that the opportunities are not far and few between to be able to capitalize that on the opportunities that you get. So, like shots that Schroeder and Trez and LeBron and AD and Gasol and Kuz are getting right now in KCP are easier than what they were getting last year. Because you had Dwight and JaVale that couldn't shoot. You had Avery Bradley who wasn't really a shooter. Danny Green couldn't knock down couldn't hit the broadside of a barn for a long extended stretch of the season, including the playoffs. I mean, the opportunities are just coming much more frequently, and we're able to capitalize at a much higher clip. So
that's true.
But at the same time, our defense can get better, and it will over the course of the season, I think.
And I love Caruso. He mentioned that in one of his interviews. He said that he knows he expects the defense by the end of the season to be far better than what it is right now, just like it was last year when we struggled defensively in the beginning and then picked it up by the time we got to the championship. Great win. This is my boy Kyle Davis on Periscope. Great win. They took their heart early and coasted from mid-first quarter. And you said this. Now, let me ask this question. How many quarters should we give for the Lakers to get up far enough that we could rest Bron or AD in these load management, quote-unquote, Laker minutes? Are we looking at 2 quarters? Is 3 quarters enough and you rest them on the 4th? What are we looking at?
I don't want to disrespect the game or make the basketball gods mad by having this sort of conversation because you want to be able to play as much as you can to be able to solidify a win. But realistically, we could beat teams in 2.5, 3 quarters. I'd say really like games can be over by the 4 minute mark of the third quarter if this team plays up to its potential night in and night out. But it's a long season and it's a
It is.
COVID season, and guys are going to be out, and it's going to be hard to bring in with no fans. It's going to be hard to bring in energy, especially when you have more back to backs, more 3 games and 5 nights, throughout the season. Still got to travel. You don't have to travel as much, but you still flying to Minnesota and Denver and Cleveland and all these other places. So
Truth.
it's just not realistically going to happen. But if it were to happen, I would say by the 4 minute mark of the third quarter,
We
this
should be
game
good
was
to go.
already. This game was over. I mean, this game was. The thought of losing this game never even entered my mind tonight. So
Those first 2 minutes, I was like, "Oh, this is it. This is a wrap. This is done."
yeah, yeah,
And you could tell, like when Kuz started going off, I said, if Kuz is going off and Braun ain't even really got started yet, oh, it's a
yeah.
wrap. It's a done
Just
deal.
wait. Just wait for. And Braun hasn't even. I mean, he's been shooting the ball well. He didn't shoot the ball great tonight, but man, just wait for AD to get back. Man, I just hope AD plays tomorrow. I just
And
really,
dominant.
I just really want to see AD against Portland. He just eats Portland for dinner,
Yeah, man.
breakfast, lunch, dinner, twice on Sundays. Every time he plays these guys, so
And I love
I
it, man.
yeah.
Lakers haven't had a 30-point scorer in a game yet, despite scoring 127 points per game so far.
Whew.
That that stat right there is scary beyond measure, man. Because last year, a lot of our offense, we talked about this every post game, a lot of our offense came from AD or Bron, and we were always asking who's that third person. And then tonight, AD didn't even play, and it didn't matter. We're still putting up points. Kyle Davis says he agrees with me about McKinney, and he agrees with you about the lack of depth at 5. Cam Smith, everyone on this team is just playing their game. They looked real comfortable out there. Blake St. Clair on our boy YouTube. Blake. Now, I don't know if you remember, Chaz. Blake is the one who has been advocating for us to get rid of Kuz. Blake is back tonight. Harden is twice the player he was last year, just going by weight. Oh man, yeah.
I don't care what Harden does in his free time. I mean, he could be a little bit more respectful to the game, but he's still dropping 40 points and scoring and assisting on 75, 80% of the team's total points. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the guy is
He is who he is.
he is who he is. He's
And
a machine, man.
right on cue, Blake has a great commentary for you, my friend. I'm going to let you take this, but I'm going to read you this series of comments about Kuz, and I'm going to let you address. Blake says, now Kuz has a movable contract, Kuzma won't be a Laker by season end. You have been wrong for 2 years about Kuzma so far. Laugh out loud. One more season won't hurt.
There's not a player that will become available by the trade deadline that you could ship out Kuz for. There's no like, how much better do you want to get like on this team? When we get to the All-Star break, and this team is, I don't even know how many games is at the All-Star break, but let's just call it like, when is the All-Star break? March 3rd. So let's say this team is, I don't even know how many games this is, but let's just call it 30 games. Let's say this team is 24-6. You're not trading Kuz for what? Why? The only player that will become available that I could see us even possibly trading Kuz for is Bradley Beal. But or DeMar DeRozan or somebody like that. But you're not trading for DeMar. That's not what you're doing at this point. You're cash strapped. Now you're starting to get into the luxury tax because you're going to have to re-sign. We're talking about re-signing Shorter for multiples of years because we got to get that guy on locked down ASAP. So what are you taking more salary on for? So
it makes no sense.
So to Blake, I would say, you're wrong, sir.
Guard and center depth is more important than what Kuzma offers. I don't know if he's seen our roster, but
We are not
guard depth.
trading for a center. We are not. We are not trading. We are not trading for a center. We are getting somebody on the buyout market. And as far as guard, like you about to say right now, we deep.
We
Super
deep in guard. We
Blue
deep in
Sea
guard.
deep.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson deep. Like
Yeah, guard is not it, man. Guard is not it. Listen, I'm a believer, and I've been saying it, and I know there's always going to be people who say get rid of Kuz. I mean, this is no joke. I'm just going back to last year. People were saying trade Bradley. People were saying trade KCP. All of this stuff, man. At the end of the day, yeah. And I'm like, saying he's been wrong for 2 years is crazy. Kuzma has not been off like that for 2 years. I will say, out of all the people, out of the Brandon Ingrams, the Josh Harts, the Lonzo Balls, none of them would have given the same amount of. They wouldn't have fit with this team the way that Kuzma does. He just fits better. That's the bottom line. He just fits better. You don't need Lonzo because he's already a point guard and Bron's a point guard, so you don't need that. You don't need Josh Hart because he's fragile, and we don't know if he's ever going to hit a three that really matters. And then Ingram, he needs to cook on his own. He needs to be an ISO player that cooks on his own. Brandon Ingram was always tremendous. Kuzma is somebody who needs to be able to catch and shoot, who needs to be able to rebound, who needs to be able to fit in where he gets in. And so he did his thing, man. I'm with it.
Shout out to real quick, Vinay, my boy. The point that he made about 3 dribbles or less that he's continually made on Twitter. I'm not taking his point at all, Vinay, but I got to let you know that point that you've made about minimizing the amount of dribbles that Kuz takes to be able to make or take a shot, the less dribbles he takes, the more efficient he is. So keep a good eye out on that, and check out my man's articles. I think he's not sure who he's with right now. If he's with Lakers Central, I think he's on Lakers Central podcast or those shows. But my boy Vinay, that's a really good point that he made, because the less dribbles that Kuz takes, the more efficient he is with his shot making ability.
And this is great. This is fitting for what we're talking about. LeBron talked about Kuz. He said the game is slowing down for him. He said everybody knows about Kuz's ability to score the ball, but the evolution was shown in the play tonight where he dropped the transition dime to KCP, making the extra pass, seeing plays before they develop. Now,
that dime was so nasty. Like no pass, no dribbles, just straight pass. I mean, over and over and over and over again. So I just hope LeBron's ankle is all right. I mean, obviously it's he ain't. Hopefully he doesn't swell up too much. Hopefully he's hopefully he'll be good for that first San Antonio game. But anytime you see a back-to-back, look for LeBron and AD to probably sit out one of those 2 games.
And speaking of which, Kuz on starting games with LeBron or AD out, he's averaging 20 points per game in the 9 starts where they've been out. He says it's just more opportunities. Obviously, we've got 2 superstars, and rightfully so. One of those guys is out. I just have more opportunity. So that goes right into what you were saying. You give
more at bats.
Give it to him. Give it to him. Give it to him. I love it, man. Okay, so the last question, and this is kind of our ending point as we're getting ready to get out of here. Looking at the Lakers and how we lost against the Clippers, obviously we're not putting too much stock into that.
I put zero stock into it.
Put zero stock into it. Obviously PG went off, cooked this the whole 9. But you look now at where we're at just a couple of games later, and when you look at the rest of the league, you look at a Brooklyn, you look at the Clippers, you look at a Milwaukee, you look at Boston. Where do we stack up in all this? Do you still feel as confident about how we can repeat as you were before the season started?
Let's just start with the East Coast. The Bucks are not as good as they were last year, flat out. You can see it early. For whatever reason, they're not as good as they were last year. Brooklyn, great offensively, great depth, doesn't play defense. Toronto, not enough star power. Boston, young guys just aren't going to be enough. It really depends on Kemba. But Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have to average 30 points each in order for them to even have a really good chance You saw they had great games and still got blown out by Brooklyn on Christmas because Brooklyn just had better depth. Boston doesn't play defense either, by the way. So,
True.
I mean, and Philly, don't even get me started with Philly with Ben Simmons not even being able to make a jump shot. And even though they got better with Seth Curry, ultimately, I mean, LeBron and AD neutralize Ben Simmons and Embiid all day. So in the West Coast, there's not a team in the West Coast that could see the Lakers. To me, the Clippers got considerably worse than what they did last season. Like the depth that they have or had last season, it just isn't there. Patrick Patterson is not the guy that you want, to really take those kind of shots that they want him to take this year. With JaMychal Green being out, with Trez being on the Lakers now, with Paul George just crumbling under the pressure of the LA Lights. I mean, this guy said today that he took full accountability for the loss and then blamed it on Christmas and said guys were with their family on Christmas and it's my fault that I didn't have guys ready to go. I mean, damn, dog. I mean, there's not a single team in the league that could see the Lakers 4 out of 7. And until James Harden gets traded to Brooklyn, if that happens, that would be the only scenario. I'm with Stephen A on that. He's continually said that. And unless James Harden somehow ends up in Miami's not, they're all out on him at this point. Brooklyn is in on him. Philly, he's going to end up going to Philly because Philly has the most assets once Daryl Morey can come off Ben Simmons. There's not a single team that I see beating the Lakers 4 out of 7, if healthy.
I agree. I completely agree. And tonight just further showed that. I wasn't looking at the Timberwolves necessarily as a barometer or as a measuring stick, but I was looking to see, can we see some of our players come out and be who they can be, especially Marc Gasol. I was really looking for him to come out. Of course, Kuzma. And everybody showed their stripes today. And I can't think of a better win than what we had tonight with AD being out, LeBron playing sub 30 minutes, your center who has really been unproductive, almost going for a triple-double, and then everybody on the bench contributing. The only person was Kostas, who's the only person who didn't score on the entire team. And it's because he went up for that dunk and didn't land it. But outside of that, everybody else scored. That's crazy.
Portland's good. I think tomorrow will be, if we do what we did tonight to Portland, then look out, man. I mean, sheesh.
Yeah.
Portland's good.
Portland is good, and to be honest, every team is going to have it's going to be a different scenario. I don't look at San Antonio as a threat, but I do look at it as you can't overlook them, right? And the same thing for Portland, man. Like they know what they want to do this year, and they know what it felt like in the playoffs to have to strive as hard as they did to get to the playoffs. I'll tell you this: if Melo doesn't play, I don't like their chances. And I'm not saying he's just like the biggest X factor, but for whatever reason, Melo
their
loves
chances
to show
go
out.
Considerably down. No, I got you.
Yeah, him and Bron just love to play against each other, man. And so I don't know what's going to happen with that, but tomorrow night will be another good. And what you said earlier, it's a back-to-back. So now we get a chance to see how this team operates when they don't have a full day of rest and they don't have a lot of time to go through film, right? So now you're just going to be turning around and playing that team. And this is a different roster, obviously not the same as last time we saw them. So we get a chance to see how this team reacts to that. Tomorrow, I really could care less if they win or lose. What I want to see is do we continue to take steps, and can we get consistent with this scoring and get more consistent on our defensive schemes? If we can do that, then I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm just concerned more so about the defensive end. I don't have any worries or concern about, the amount of guys are playing 23, 25, 21. The most amount of minutes that a player played tonight was 29 minutes. And that was Kuz, who's 25 years old. So he'll be good to go for tomorrow. KCP only played 23 minutes. Trez only played 20. Keith only played 15. I mean, THT got 21 tonight. So I suspect he'll get another 20 tomorrow night. Like, that's what happens. That's what happens when you have the executive of the year and the best depth in the league. So,
oop. You love to see it. Listen, man, that's it for our post game tonight. LeBron on his ankle. It's been better, but it feels pretty good. So
They don't feel good. Go ice that thing and take tomorrow off, and we'll see
drink
you
some
in San
wine.
Antonio, big dog.
Yeah, man. We'll drink some wine. Cam Smith says Lakers literally cannot trade Kuz based on the timing of his extension. Blake is
Thank you. Yeah,
flagrantly
that too.
wrong.
Poison pill.
Yeah,
Poison pill. I
the
didn't even think
poison pill
about that as
contract.
well. I completely forgot about that. He literally cannot be traded. It's never been done. So,
Yeah.
Blake, go to bed, sir.
We appreciate you all tuning in, man. It's always fun and it's always amazing to be with you. Chaz, man, give the shout outs tonight. What should we be looking for coming up from you guys, you and Chris, and what do you guys got
Oh
going
man,
on?
me and Chris Camello of the Showtime Forum podcast have Ryan Ward coming on to the podcast tomorrow night. So we will be having that scheduled, and then we have, I believe, another podcast coming up at the end of the week. And I got post game with you tomorrow, and what is that? San Antonio Wednesday, and then Friday. So, I mean, we're jam packed. It's gonna be a great season, and I'm here. I'm here for all of it. I'm sorry I couldn't get with you on Christmas. I was at my mom's, didn't have service. You know the whole deal, but
You good.
you know, you guys know where to catch me on Twitter and on Instagram, and you know, as far as these post game shows, we live.
We live, baby. We live. I appreciate y'all. Listen, we will check y'all tomorrow night. It's another late game. Of course, for me, it's past midnight where I'm at. But we will be back on tomorrow night after the Portland game, and I'm anticipating another win, another breakout game by Kuzma, and hopefully we get to see AD and Bron sit out while we blow them out by 25. All right, guys, I'll check you on the next one. Until then, Mamba out, but not forgotten. I'll see y'all.